David, we haven't spoken to you since the first of 22 lawsuits was filed against Deshaun Watson. Do you expect him to be at mini camp or OTAs?
We have nothing to say about that situation at this time. Kyle and ownership a few weeks back indicated about how our organization feels about the situation. I think when Nick was on not long ago, we mentioned that he also mentioned that the legal process is in effect right now, and we're gonna respect that and gonna go from there.
But do you expect to see him in this offseason at all? Like regardless of the legal issues?
I have nothing to say about that at this time.
David Culley from over the weekend at Rookie Minicamp talking about Deshaun Watson, or more accurately, not talking about Deshaun Watson. When we last heard from him, podcast quotes had emerged where he, for the first time, seemed to open the door on the possibility of a trade. Then he showed up for the press conference not long after those quotes emerged, and somebody apparently had gotten to him and told him to revert to the "we're not trading Deshaun Watson" playbook. But look, Chris, this isn't surprising now. The Texans are watching and waiting and hoping at some level that these cases do get resolved, because although I've heard that some teams are trying to engage the Texans now with these lawsuits pending, if that's true, and I don't know that it is, I think the Texans are resisting engaging in any discussions now because with those lawsuits, the value in trade is necessarily lower than if the lawsuits get resolved. And there's definitely an effort to try to get the cases resolved. And what we saw last week in the back and forth between Tony Busby, who represents the 22 women, and Rusty Hardin, who represents Deshaun Watson, that's something that emerged once they had tried to resolve the cases. And the big sticking point, and this turns everything on its head from what we usually see, the big sticking point is Rusty Hardin, on behalf of Deshaun Watson, wants no confidentiality, no one to be muzzled in any way about the amount of the settlement, any of the facts. You can talk about it all you want. The lawyer for the plaintiffs is the one who, according to Hardin, wants everything to be confidential. And that's where they reached their impasse, and that's why this isn't done. And it's unclear whether or not they can get past that. And if they don't, the cases have to go forward.
I mean, yes. I would think at base level, right? I mean, of course Houston wants all things settled. I mean, yes. So they can move on, whether that's they want to keep Deshaun Watson or, like you said, get the ball rolling on a trade offer to where, yeah, I'm sure teams are keeping their eye on this situation. And, like, you know, to what you were saying a little, Mike, yeah, the value of the trade is certainly down right as of right now. But, like, I can't even imagine a team making a legit trade offer or being aggressive when you don't know how this is going to play out at this moment. So that's where, to me, it's kind of a dead point, and we just got to let it play out and see where it goes. But, like, I don't expect to hear Houston make any comments about Deshaun Watson at this point, right? I mean, am I wrong to think, like, they don't want to be liable to anything here as far as just making any comment on the situation to maybe now us read into that to like, oh, they were hoping this happens or this happens, and that's where they could be liable at some point. So I would expect them to say hush-hush about this.
I don't know if there's anything they'd be liable for in that sense. It just makes no sense for them to say anything for overall best interest of the team. We talked about the best interest of the Bears last segment, best interest of the Texans. Say nothing, wait, and hope that these cases get resolved so that then they can move on from Deshaun Watson. Because I think at this point, the minute they are resolved, that's when the auction for the contract begins. And if the cases do get resolved, I think it does potentially put the Texans in line to get a significant return. Because even though there's a very strong likelihood Watson will be suspended by the league, even if all the cases are resolved today, teams are willing to take him on, knowing that vague reality is out there. Get it over with, 2021 season, 4 games, 6 games, 8 games. That's kind of the number that's bouncing around, although no one really knows what's going to happen. That's the estimate. And then you move forward and you have Deshaun Watson for the next 10, maybe 15 years. Yeah. If it all works out well and you keep him happy contractually and he plays well. So there will be teams that are interested. There are teams that are interested. And again, I don't know that this is true, but there's definitely some scuttlebutt that teams are even now trying to engage the Texans and they're not being responsive. And I think the easy explanation is there's no reason to be now. You don't want to start a conversation in a universe where the lawsuits drag down what the trade value is. Let's just wait until the cases are over, if they can be resolved. And I still think there's a pathway to a resolution, Chris. Look, they've got to worry about the criminal investigation that could morph into a prosecution, although it's going to be very hard to prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt. They've also got to worry about the NFL. The NFL's watching everything that's being said, everything that's being done. And that's one of the reasons, Chris, that I firmly believe Rusty Hardin wants no confidentiality to attach to any of these settlements. They want to do nothing that will frustrate the efforts of the NFL to get to the bottom of this, to get to the truth. They're comfortable with that, and they don't want to be perceived as hiding anything.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Yes, I mean he's already been taken, through the wash as far as like Deshaun Watson's concerned. It's all out there, so he's probably at this point like, yeah, no, I mean I want them to be held, to their word and things like that. I get that, and Mike, I'm with you. I know there's teams that are still, Watson's very much on their radar still. And yeah, it's weird. I get it. But when you're definitely one of the 5 best players in the NFL, yeah, you can have these type of circumstances and teams know you're going to get suspended and they're still going to want you on their team because Deshaun Watson's a franchise superstar quarterback who just started the prime of his career. And that means he's got like 10 years left of really good football. And so teams are going to be interested in that no matter what, really, unless something really crazy got thrown out here and just it was a no-win situation. But I fully expect at some point there to be a market for him.
There's currently no reason to think he's never going to play football again. Would he play this year? Who knows?
Yeah.
Would he play next year if these cases aren't resolved? Who knows? But at some point, he's going to be back, and he plays a position where you can play into your 40s now, well into your 40s, as we see with Tom Brady. And he's established himself, Deshaun Watson has, as one of the best in the game. So he'll be playing for somebody at some point, barring something very unexpected and basically shocking at this point that would end his career for good.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.